Welcome to our channel, Lady Ferns. In this video, you find us at a very dusty, remote intersection in the middle of Texas with a very large decision to make. A decision that could change everything moving forward. You may wonder why. Why this particular intersection in Texas? But I can almost guarantee you, at least 99% of the people watching this video has seen this particular intersection on the big screen at least once in their lifetime. And in that movie, the main character also had a very important choice to make, while he was also at this intersection. And since we were so close to this location, it only felt right to come here and make our choice. If you can figure out what that movie's name is before we disclose it in this YouTube video today, please put it in the comments below. But here I am, getting ahead of myself. In the last video, we were still living off-grid in the mountains of Colorado. So let's just go back a bit, because I've skipped a whole bunch of good stuff in between. Things like Buffalo Bill, The Wizard of Oz, and much, much more. First thing in the morning, we headed out. We headed northbound through the mountains of Colorado. On our journey northbound through Colorado, we passed through the Eisenhower-Johnson tunnels. This tunnel system that takes you through the mountains of Colorado is approximately 1.69 miles or 2.72 kilometers long. While we were continuously amazed at the beautiful scenery that surrounded us, not everyone in the vehicle felt the same way at times. When I had learned that there was a town called Nederland in Colorado, I just knew I had to make it part of our journey north. Knowing nothing about the town other than its name, we had it in the GPS and were on our way. It's a small community of approximately 1,500 people. The town had several names in its early conception, some of which were Dayton, Brownsville, and Middle Boulder. However, in 1873, one of the local silver mines was bought up by a mining company from the Netherlands. People quickly started to refer to this mine as the Netherlands, meaning lowlands, which it is compared to the town of Caribou at 10,000 feet of elevation. In 1874, when the town was incorporated, the people chose Nederland as its new name for the town. As it turns out, this small, quaint little town holds one of Colorado's most beloved annual events, and has been doing so for the last 20 years. Every March, they hold a festival called Frozen Dead Guy Days. It's a weekend full of live music, coffin racing, and many other things. And there's quite the story behind this festival. It stretches from Norway to California to Colorado and involves cryogenics and deportations. And of course, one frozen dead guy, who the locals and the festival goers lovingly refer to as Grandpa Brito. This 3-day death-themed festival all centers around a Norwegian man named Brito, who, as luck would have it, didn't visit the United States until after his death in 1989. Brito's grandson had his grandpa's body shipped overseas to California and stored in a cryogenics facility until he could put the finishing touches on his own hand-built cryogenic storage chamber right here in Nederland, Colorado, where Brito's grandson and his mother were living at the time. Brito's grandson believed that science would one day find a way to counteract aging and the body's frailties, and that his grandfather would one day be able to be reanimated. Sometime after Brito's body was peacefully placed in Nederland, Colorado, his grandson and other family members were deported back to Norway after overstaying a visa. The question then became, what about Grandpa Brito? Brito's relatives, his grandson in particular, has hired a caretaker to take care of his grandfather's body. The caretaker and a team of volunteers go once a month to pack Brito's body with dry ice and keep him at a constant temperature of minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 51 degrees Celsius. And so a legend was born. After exploring the town for a couple hours, we were on the road again. We knew that in just a matter of hours we would be out of the mountain ranges of Colorado, and it would be quite some time before we saw mountains again. So we soaked up every last mountain peak we could. After driving north through Colorado, entering Wyoming and Nebraska, we finally found our spot for the night. We use a phone app called iOverlander to find most of the places where we stay at. We found this free spot in Nebraska, not having really any expectations. Our plan was just to spend the night and keep going the next morning. But when we woke up the next morning and truly looked around, we realized what a beautiful little oasis this seemed to be in amongst all the flat farmers' fields of Nebraska. It truly was a surprise. And since we weren't in an overly big hurry, we decided to spend a couple nights here and just enjoy it. After a restful couple days in Nebraska, we headed south into Kansas. On our way through Kansas, we made a quick stop in a small town called Oakley, where the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center is. The Cultural Center and the massive sculpture of William Cody is near the site of where the famous hunting contest for the right to be nicknamed Buffalo Bill occurred. In the spring of 1868, there were two Williams in the buffalo hunting trade around West Kansas. One was William Cody, who supplied the Kansas Pacific Railroad workers with buffalo meat. The other was William Comstock, who fed the soldiers at Fort Wallace with his catches. To settle the dispute that they had on who the rightful owner of the nickname would be, they held a contest to see who could bring back the most buffalo in a day. William Cody, with his circling technique that kept all of his kills in one area instead of scattered, won the contest. Winning the contest with 69 buffalo kills to 46, William Cody won the rightful name to Buffalo Bill. After a quick stop at the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center, we were on our way again. There was one more place in Kansas that I really wanted to see. Kansas is famous for many things, but there's one thing that stands out more than most to me, and that is the Wizard of Oz. In the movie, Dorothy only wanted one thing, to go home, back to Kansas. But where exactly in Kansas? The film never did say, and they tactfully avoided the question for many decades. Prior to the 1970s, the iconic Dorothy Gale, made famous in The Wizard of Oz, was simply from Kansas. No town name was ever given. With no actual town named, it was just a matter of time before some enterprising people from Kansas jumped on the opportunity to claim the title, and Liberal Kansas was that town. As the story goes, A man named Max Zimmerman, an insurance agent from Liberal, Kansas, attended a convention in 1978. Max entered the convention wearing his name tag. When a waiter noted his state of origin, he said, "Oh, you're from Kansas. That's where Dorothy's from." Max Zimmerman asked the waiter, "What would you expect to see in Kansas?" The waiter replied, "Dorothy's house, of course," leading the businessman to ponder just where in Kansas was Dorothy's hometown. He quickly learned that no other city had claimed the title, and the light bulb in his head blinked into action. Why not Liberal, Kansas? An equally intrigued resident of Liberal, Kansas offered to donate a house built in 1907, much like the famous farmhouse described in the story, and the rest is entrepreneurial history. Today, visitors can tour the house and grounds as well as a 5,000 square foot exhibit and animated journey through the movie. We took a stroll around the grounds, checking out the various displays, statues, and life-size cutouts. And of course, the grounds would not be complete without the yellow brick road, which was even signed by NTM, the Cowardly Lion, the Wizard of Oz, and many, many more. There was also the tornado shelter. We also could not pass up the opportunity to take a guided tour through Dorothy's house.
How they cleaned it out was stick a piece of bread in there. Oh, it's that is a new sole on the boot, whatever. That's what this is made for. This is to dry out the stuff out of the garden and the seeds. They heated that up, and that's what helped you dry out the stuff.
Once the guided tour of Dorothy's home was complete, we then chose to do the interactive walkthrough of the movie, which is a 5,000 square foot interactive walkthrough of scenes from the movie, which would not be complete without beginning with the night of the tornado. It was this natural disaster that started it all for Dorothy. This is very much an interactive guided tour. We have been told that if you come during the summer months, they hire young girls to dress up as Dorothy, and they sing and dance and skip along the way as they lead you through the story of the Wizard of Oz. We came during the off-season when most people have returned back to school, so we had a slightly different experience, but it was still fun regardless.
I'm Dorothy Gale from Kansas.
That way looks nice.
Yeah.
And of course that way looks nice too.
Which way do we go? Which way do
Yes,
we go?
I can talk, but I can't get down from this post because I haven't got a brain.
As you walk through this exhibit, you meet up with the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow, and continue your way down the yellow brick road. You also encounter many of the adventures of Dorothy, including the Wicked Witch.
Yeah. Don't get us.
Not even the flying monkeys were overlooked. And of course, the Wizard of Oz would not be complete without a visit to Oz itself. As well as meeting the great Wizard of Oz.
I'm Dorothy Gale from Kansas, and I need to get back home to my family. I come to get help from you, and my lion, and my friend, and Tin Man, and the Scarecrow. I'll come for help.
There are many Wizard of Oz themed events and attractions sprinkled throughout Kansas, but only Liberal, Kansas holds the official name as the home of Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz. We were on the road again, and a drive through Kansas would not be complete without driving through a huge dust ball cloud. As we left Kansas, we were headed south. We crossed through the Oklahoma Panhandle and then into Texas. We were on our way to the famous intersection I mentioned at the beginning of this video, but first we had one last stop to make in Texas. There is a town in Texas called Canadian, and we were just fascinated by this, and we knew we just had to make a quick stop. For those of you who are new to our channel and still trying to figure out exactly who we are and the story behind us, Most simply put, we are a married couple that is traveling North America in our 13-foot bowler, alongside our cat and our dog. Tara is an American citizen born and raised. I, however, am a Canadian citizen born and raised. Which probably explains why we are more fascinated with a town called Canadian in Texas than maybe other people might be. Leaving the town of Canadian, Texas, we entered the coordinates for the intersection on the GPS, and we were on our way. The GPS system in our truck is an ongoing joke between Tara and I. It always gets us to where we want to go, but sometimes it's the most obscure and out-of-the-way route possible. And this trip was no different. It made us take a turn off a highway and down a long dirt road that seemed to go on and on and on. We started to question if we were actually headed the right way. But the GPS came through, as it always does. We ended up exactly where we wanted to be, at the famous intersection. Well, have you figured out where we are, or what famous movie this intersection is known for? Okay, well, I'll give you a few hints first. The main character of the movie is Tom Hanks, and in the final scenes of this movie, he is at this exact intersection, trying to figure out where to go next. When a woman pulls up in a cool old truck, tells him he looks lost, and asks, where is he headed? And Tom Hanks replies, well, I was just about to figure that out. And the woman responds by saying, well, that's 83 South, and this road here will hook you up with I-40 East. If you turn right, that'll take you to Amarillo, Flagstaff, and California. And if you head that direction, you'll find a whole lot of nothing all the way back to Canada. And then the lady drove off, and Tom Hanks' character had a decision which direction to take his life in next. Have you figured out the movie? Well, the movie was Castaway. And much like Tom Hanks' character in the movie, we had a very big decision to make. Which direction to take our lives in next. As I had mentioned earlier in this video, I am a Canadian citizen who happens to be in the United States, and as a Canadian, we are allowed to be here for 6 months. Our 6 months had already come and gone, and we'd applied for a visitor extension, granting us another 6 months, but that time was now coming to an end as well. So the big question was, what do we do next? We could take the right to Amarillo, Flagstaff, and then California and explore some more. We could take 83 South and head further into Texas and explore with what little time we had left. We could turn around and do the whole lot of nothing all the way back to Canada. Or we could take this road that would eventually connect us to the I-40 East and bring us to Oklahoma. Tara and I had been living together in Canada. Prior to coming to the United States, we had lived nomadically in our 13-foot bowler for a year and a half. Tara, being a United States citizen, had family in the United States. When we first crossed over into the United States, our intentions were to only come visit for just a few months in Oklahoma with Tara's family. But this beautiful country had so much to see and to do, we just weren't ready to leave quite yet. We already had a pretty good idea of what decision we were going to make, but at this famous intersection, we made it final. We made our decision. This is the road we would be taking, the road that eventually connected with I-40 East to Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma, we would visit Tara's family some more and work on a green card application for myself and file it. In life, making big decisions can be hard, always questioning whether that was truly the right decision. And as excited as we were for this new adventure, we were still a little nervous. Sometimes I like to ask for signs that it is the right choice to give us the confidence to move forward, and this case was no different. Since the movie Castaway had a large focus on FedEx and the delivery of packages, I secretly challenged the powers that be, the universe, whatever you want to call it, to send me a sign. Not knowing how remote we would actually be, I asked to see a delivery vehicle, but just not an Amazon Prime one because they are everywhere. And I continue to be amazed to this day that during the 10 to 15 minutes we were at this remote intersection, not only did a delivery vehicle come through the intersection, but headed the exact direction we were going to take. With the decision finally made, we were on our way again. We were Oklahoma bound on the I-40 East. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to subscribe and hit the notifications and bell icon so you don't miss all the content that is coming up next. Stay tuned for videos of us in Oklahoma, including renovations and upgrades to the boler, as well as rodeos and much, much more.